The Interim Combined Arms Virtual Simulation Deployed capability offers units the ability to train within the virtual environment, in their unit lines or in a deployed hard infrastructure location, under their own guise with a minimum of G4 effort and G3 planning on their part. ICAVS-D has been developed for the use of all units within the British Army, everything from your combat arms through to your combat service support. ICAVS-D virtually represents all equipment and weapon systems currently available within the British Army and many of the systems that we hope to secure in the future. It also offers the ability for the user to operate anywhere in the world, day or night, in any weather condition, from their base locations in the virtual environment. Over and above that, it offers the ability to conduct mission rehearsal activity, preparations for operations, and experimentation, whether that be in the urban environment or more widely utilising capabilities which we are on the threshold of securing, such as robotics and unmanned aerial vehicles. It also represents a wide range of enemy weapon systems and equipments in the world today. ICAVS-D is not just for the regular Army, it is also a capability that can be booked and utilised by the Army Reserve.
We wanted to use ICAVS-D because the company has recently re-rolled from light roll and we've started to have to move into vehicles in preparation for OpCabrit 11. And so what the guys behind me are doing is practicing some of the low-level skills and drills that they might employ when they're implementing some of the tactical actions. And the fact that the team have been able to come up to us rather than us deploy elsewhere is useful because it means that we can run training in parallel, which is critical for mission preparation. So I think one of the benefits of ICAVS-D is the fact that you can run concurrent training. So you can have a battle group headquarters, for example, training and conducting planning in a room adjacent to a platoon, company, frankly several companies or squadrons conducting virtual training next door, so that the commanders have confidence when they go onto live vehicles that they have the base level of drills instilled in the teams, so they can then practice with confidence and perform for their higher commanders. So the fact that we can use this in a combined arms environment when deployed on operations will significantly aid the cohesiveness of the battle group and therefore the performance in the long run.
So we've used the system for the last 2 weeks. The first few days we were shaking out on how to use the system. Once the lads were happy with the system, we then moved on to small actions, basic stuff. So we're mortar platoon, so we started off with basic fire missions, target adjustment, things like that. On the second week we then moved to more difficult tactical actions, advance of contacts, obstacle crossings, delays, and then we'll also finalise with a defensive action. So I've got quite junior platoon, so a lot of my qualified soldiers that I've got have just newly qualified, so this was a good way to get them into an environment, I wouldn't say an uncomfortable environment, but an environment where they can be tested to a certain degree. There's nothing wrong with a section commander coming in, getting the system and taking his bloke through things that he wants to go through. You can also use that at platoon level as well, which is what we've done, which allows myself to take my platoon through things that I want to practice them through, and then it gives me some feedback. So it allows me to then assess them and then see the development points that we need to take on board, essentially. The battalion should definitely look at using this at least once a year to brush up on their own stuff, and say company level or platoon level, you can quite easily get the system set up and there'll be nothing hard about using that a few times a year. Everyone knows an after action review, you can pause, rewind, but it's a really good tool to point out the certain points you want to make to your troops about good points, bad points, and then development points.
I think one of the top tips that I'd give to other sub-unit commanders is to embrace virtual training. We can't always have access to tanks and to platforms, and so this buys out a lot of the training deficit that we have when we don't have access to those platforms and or training areas.
The good news is there is no unit cost involved in the use of ICAVS-D. Bookings should be made through the Brigade G7 function. However, in lieu of that, you can find all the details required to directly contact ICAVS-D team on the AKX page or in the Field Army Training Directive.